So, rebuilding insurance from the customer backward. What does that mean? Well, what it means is that it's not about reinventing the wheel, or that I know reinventing the wheel is something that is very often used in lots of meetings. But here, I mean it seriously. It's not about changing insurance completely. Reinventing this means that the customer experience and the customer expectations have changed a lot, and there was divergence between the old way of doing insurance and the expectation of customers 20, 30, 40 years ago. And the newly inbred expectation of customers, whether they are the young or old generation, much more in the young generation, of course, but the old generation are impacted by the digital revolution. The internet has appeared like 25, 30 years ago, was very slow to grow in the population, in the usage. There were other mini revolution in tech, but now with AI, the speed and expectation have grown exponentially. As I said also, I guess in another podcast, the COVID time had also created a lot of connectivity and the need for the population for contact, which were not possible socially, have increased digitally, which also, due to the availability and the speed of the connection, created in the population an expectation for all the time availability or speed, or the need to have answers to questions in a very, very short period of time. So insurance, the insurance industry has tried to adapt and has evolved. But if you look at that only from the insurance point of view and what is being given to the population, to the client base, and what also is given to the distribution, whether they are captive or independent, they need to be empowered to give and position the insurance product in the best way to client. What insurers have done there is more top-down, because they have a strong product base, they have a strong operations, they have a very, very strong value chain that is rigid and that prevents them from creating the speed that they would like to have, because they're all clever. I mean, insurance people and employees and managers are very, very, very clever, and they understand the world, but they have constraints. And these constraints of the value chain is something that we need to always keep into consideration. This is something, if we want to even reinvent the insurance industry backward, it's something that needs to be taken into consideration, because overpromising something to the client will have negative effect. Saying that I'm going to change everything and then failing to do so is much worse than just getting the journey moving towards the client. So the key element there is to be aware of the element of the value chain, knowing what we can invest along the value chain to make improvement, and keeping a lot of reserves, because it will only work by iteration. A long time ago, even before COVID, I worked in a big insurance group, and we developed a product for very large corporations. And this product was very, very international. So it was a global product that has a very, very strong element of centralization, and therefore an enormous complexity. And I was leading the drive for change and establishing the structure, the division, that needed to do it, but the division that needs to do it needs to depend on many other structures and companies inside the insurance group I was working for to be able to implement that solution. So having a big bang scenario from the beginning would have been terrible. What we did, not that I was happy with that, because I wanted to go faster and I wanted to have the best solution on the market. But I need to also understand that we can't change everything at once. And also, I needed to be very clear with everyone that whatever change we were making was something that was validated by client. Insurers had the tendency to create a product that was super clever and worked and so on internally, and have sales power that are going to push those products to client. But now it's not working like that anymore. It's much easier and better to work with client and build with the client, which is what we done at the time. We were building by iteration. We just presented the solution, which was well received, got feedback from one client. Well, we couldn't just change the product exactly the way they wanted to, so they didn't buy it, which was something that was great, not for the client or for us, but it's part of the process. And this is the illustration on how those elements need to work. And by the way, that client finally bought that product once we had made the 2 or 3 steps, iterative steps, that were driving towards the end product at the end. What I've learned there is that whatever the client wanted is not what the client bought at the end. We needed to make some changes. We need to get it approved by other clients as well, or get feedback from other clients. And then we needed to move in internally. What this process taught by being iterative, it means that the client, they were a complete stakeholder in the development process, that the value chain and the investment from the insurer point of view were kept under control and were driven in the right way. So it was a bit like, succeed fast, fail fast, but in an iterative way. And we managed to create a structure that was sustainable for the client in the long term. So that was corporate business. For individual business, it's usually a bit more challenging because we need to create focus group, we have feedback, and those exist a lot. But the need that was created by the latest digital development and the connectivity have increased so much that even the focus group that were valid 5-10 years ago or 3 years ago, they're not valid today. And there is a demand for an increased level of personalization in the product or in the offering. And maybe that's good that I made the mistake here, because the product, if I talk about insurance, is in the insurance contract, and the offering is beyond the insurance contract. It goes into what kind of service is linked to it. Is it a service which is offered by the insurer, or is it a service which is independent? Or is the service the real product and the insurance contract that's in it, embedded in it? Well, the key there is that from the end client, it has to be simple, it has to be clearly understood, it has to be fair, it has to be quick. And these elements, and building that together with external stakeholders, an insurance company cannot do everything, cannot distribute all the product and deliver all the service by himself or herself. Then understanding this environment better and willing to learn and mastering the pace. So being at the orchestra, leading the orchestra, there is very important, because if you're not leading the orchestra, then the iterative element will not be under control of the insurer. But being able to drive that element and suck all that information from the external stakeholders that are now part of the industry ecosystem, beyond insurance, beyond the distribution, beyond the names themselves, then will be a key for the future and the ability of insurance to reinvent itself based on what the client wants, what the client needs, and what the possibilities that the digital and AI and the speed of which is magnified, has been magnified and increased so much, will be the key for the future of insurance. Insurance is there to stay, but the way it looks like 10 years ago is not the way it looks like today. And in 20, 50 years ago, in the future, it will be much different.